Saoirse is a little girl who was born unable to speak, but her brother doesn't like her. In fact, he even somewhat resents her. She wants to watch her brother draw, but Ben kicks her off the rock without hesitation. The reason Ben hates Sal so much is because before she was born, he once had a happy, complete family. Back then, he eagerly awaited the arrival of his little sister, and even promised his mother that he would be a responsible, loving big brother. But on the very day Saoirse was born, their mother left them forever. Ben blamed everything on Saoirse. At that moment, Saoirse is drawn to the seals floating on the sea. As if hypnotized, she slowly walks toward the water. When Toby notices, he rushes after her, and the leash tied to his body ends up dragging Ben into the sea as well. Ben struggles desperately in the water, yet the seawater doesn't even reach his knees. After they get back ashore, Ben once again blames everything on Saoirse. Back at home, Ben complains about Saoirse to their father Connor, but Connor simply stares blankly at the distant sea. Ever since his wife left, he has fallen into deep despair, showing little concern for anything around him. That day, Granny arrives by boat at their island home. It is Saoirse's birthday. Granny has always wanted to take the two children to live in the city, but neither sibling likes the stern-looking grandmother. Seeing that Saoirse is dressed so plainly on her birthday, Granny takes her inside and changes her into a new outfit. At that moment, Saoirse discovers a seashell in Ben's room. She likes it very much and reaches for it to play, but Ben immediately snatches it back. His face turns red with anger, because that seashell is a precious keepsake left behind by their mother. That night, Granny sets up a camera, hoping to capture this warm moment. Just as Saoirse is about to blow out the candles, Ben deliberately pushes her head straight into the cake. Connor prepares to leave the island and head into town. Granny knows he is once again drowning in sorrow, because Saoirse's birthday is also the anniversary of his wife Branna's death. Saoirse holds a storybook, wanting her brother to read to her. Ben deliberately chooses a frightening story to tell her. He says that the island next to them was actually once a giant named Maclear, and that his mother Macha, unable to bear seeing him trapped in grief, sent owls to steal all his emotions, turning him into a cold, lifeless stone. Long ago, on Halloween night, the fairies would come out to play, but now, if they are discovered by the owls, the fairies are turned into stone. After finishing the story, Ben deliberately imitates the eerie cry of an owl, scaring Sal so badly that she trembles beneath the covers. Realizing he has gone too far, Ben quickly explains that it's just a story their mother once told, and that it isn't real. After Ben falls asleep, Saoirse quietly takes the seashell. She sits in the bathroom and gently blows into it. As the shell's clear sound echoes through the room, tiny glowing lights drift in through the window. Curious, Saoirse follows the lights upstairs. Beneath her mother's photograph, she finds a key, and then discovers a dust-covered box. When she opens the box with the key, inside is a pure white coat. For reasons she can't explain, the coat feels strangely familiar. Wearing the white coat, Saoirse follows the glowing lights all the way to the shore. A group of seals waits silently on the surface of the sea. She follows them and dives into the water. The moment she enters the sea, she transforms into a small pure white seal, swimming freely alongside the others. She explores countless breathtaking, magical sights beneath the waves. Meanwhile, Granny realizes Saoirse is missing and begins searching everywhere for her. Saoirse has no choice but to pretend to have collapsed on the shore. The sight terrifies Granny. She gets into a fierce argument with Connor, who has returned drunk, and resolves to take the children to the city the very next day. At that moment, Connor notices the white coat in Ben's hands. He places it back into the box and throws it straight into the sea. The next morning, Granny forcibly takes the two children away from the island. Toby, tied up, immediately breaks free and runs toward the shore, but the boat has already sailed out to sea. All Ben can do is cry helplessly aboard the boat. Saoirse reaches out, trying to hold her brother's hand to comfort him, but he harshly shakes her off. No one expects Toby to leap straight into the water, swimming desperately after the boat. After landing, Granny drives them farther toward the city. Ben sketches the landmarks they pass along the way, planning to secretly find a chance to return home. That day is Halloween. The streets are lively and full of celebration. Saoirse takes the seashell upstairs. She rummages through Granny's wardrobe and finds a coat. Putting it on, Saoirse blows into the shell once more. The glowing lights appear again, drawing the fairies who live in the city toward her. When Granny discovers her, Saoirse is wearing her coat, crouched in the bathtub, letting water pour over her, trying to recreate the feeling she had in the sea the night before. Angry, Granny punishes them by sending them to bed at 4 in the afternoon. Afterward, she throws the coat into the trash. Nearby fairies mistake it for a selkie coat and quietly retrieve it, taking it away. Ben begins to carry out his escape plan. He secretly climbs out through the window. Saoirse quietly follows behind him. Ben tells her to go back, but Saoirse insists on going home with him. With no other choice, Ben ties a rope around her and continues on their journey, drawn by the glowing lights. Ben walks into a narrow alley. When the fairies see the light surrounding Saoirse, they become even more certain that she is the legendary selkie. Taking advantage of the moment, they grab Saoirse and run. They don't hurt her. Instead, they surround Saoirse and sing joyfully. According to legend, as long as a selkie puts on her selkie coat and sings, she can send the fairies back to the world they belong to. What they don't know is that Saoirse is wearing nothing more than an ordinary coat. Ben tells them that Saoirse has never been able to speak since she was little. Looking at these fairies, Ben finally realizes that the selkie stories their mother once told were actually real. Ben tells the fairies that the real selkie coat is back at his home. Hearing this, the fairies cheer with excitement, but suddenly, several owls swoop down from above. They attack without warning. These owls are the servants of Macha. Ben quickly pulls Saoirse into the sewer. The fairies guard the entrance to protect them. The owls respond by using bottles to steal the fairies' motions. Before turning to stone, the fairies beg Ben to find the selkie coat. Only by letting Saoirse sing can they be saved. Frightened, Saoirse instinctively blows into the seashell. The glass bottles holding the stolen emotions shatter one by one under the sound of the shell. Freed at last, the fairies urge Ben to take Saoirse and leave immediately. When they reach the street, a bus happens to stop right in front of them. Ben brings Saoirse aboard. Ben never imagined that his little sister was actually a selkie. On the bus, Saoirse keeps blowing the shell. When she sees the glowing lights turn toward a nearby forest, she ignores Ben's objections and insists on getting off. They follow the lights deep into the woods. Afraid the lights will attract the owls, Ben forbids Saoirse from blowing the shell anymore. Using the map he drew himself, he heads in the opposite direction. Led by Ben, they enter a dark, airy forest. Suddenly, a noise comes from nearby. Ben immediately hides, but the figure that appears is Toby. Ben is overjoyed. If Toby can find them, then he must be able to lead them home. So, guided by Toby, they sprint toward the direction of home. But Saoirse grows weaker and weaker. She keeps coughing, and her hair slowly turns white. Seeing his sister's pale face, Ben's heart aches. He lifts Saoirse onto Toby's back and slows his pace. Suddenly, a torrential downpour begins. They try to take shelter in a church ahead, but the weakened Saoirse falls from Toby's back. Ben carries his sister on his back and presses on. The entrance to the church is covered in stinging nettles. To get Saoirse inside as quickly as possible, Ben endures the pain and steps barefoot through them. Saoirse watches his injured feet with distress, then quietly turns and walks back outside. Before long, she returns holding some dock leaves. These leaves can ease the pain caused by the nettles. At that moment, the barrier between the siblings quietly melts away. The heavy rain outside shows no sign of stopping. Saoirse picks up the seashell and blows it again. This time, all the glowing lights drift deep down into a well. Staring at the lights, Saoirse makes up her mind. She places the shell she's been clutching back into Ben's hands. Then she leaps into the well. Ben, who is afraid of water, hesitates and can't bring himself to jump. Anxious, Toby jumps in first. The rope tied to him once again drags Ben into the water. Fortunately, the rope suddenly snaps. Ben manages to surface. He struggles onto a small boat. Then he rows forward, following the glowing lights in search of his sister. Meanwhile, Saoirse has already been captured by the owls. Ben is led by the lights to a place covered in strands of hair. In the darkness, an old man hums softly. When he notices Ben, he instantly appears on the boat. The floating lights catch the old man's attention. He reaches out and grasps one of them, murmuring a few incantations. Countless lights pour from his palm. The pitch-black cavern is gradually illuminated. Looking at the hair scattered everywhere, Ben recalls a story his mother Bruna once told him. There was a great story keeper who used strands of hair to record all the stories of the world. Every single hair contained a piece of the past. The old man picks up a strand of hair and hands it to Ben. Within it appears the story of the giant MacLear. Overwhelmed by the loss of his beloved, he wept in endless sorrow. His tears gathered into a vast ocean. In the end, his mother Macha could no longer bear to see him sink into despair. She sent owls to strip away his emotions. And finally, she turned him into a stone statue. Ben begs the old man to help him find his sister. The old man initially refuses to interfere in human affairs. But upon learning that Saoirse is a selkie, he changes his mind. When he hears that Saoirse is not wearing her selkie coat, he grows deeply alarmed. Through the strands of hair, he immediately sees that Saoirse has been captured by Macha and is about to be turned into stone. Without the selkie coat, Saoirse cannot make a sound. If she cannot sing in time, she won't survive the night, and all the fairies will perish along with her. The old man hands Ben a strand of hair. He tells him to follow it to escape the cavern, but just as Ben reaches the end, the image of his mother suddenly appears on the wall. This strand of hair is the one that recorded his mother's story, and at last, Ben learns the truth. His mother never truly died. She returned to the sea instead. Only at this moment does Ben finally awaken. He realizes that none of this was ever Saoirse's fault. Yet all this time, he had poured his resentment onto her. Just then, a passage appears ahead. Ben forces himself upward along the stone steps. At the end of the passage stands Macha's dwelling. The fairies she turned to stone have become the path leading to the house. Ben walks forward step by step. Each stone fairy seems to warn him to be careful. Gathering his courage, Ben pushes open the door and rushes inside. The room is filled with glass bottles that seal away every kind of emotion. Macha sits beside the fire. At this moment, she doesn't look frightening at all. Instead, she resembles a kind, elderly grandmother. Ben begs Macha to spare his sister, but Macha tells him that Saoirse is unharmed for now. Surrounded by owls, she flies toward Ben. Only then does Ben notice half of her body has already turned to stone. Macha tells Ben that emotions only bring unbearable pain. Everything she has done, she says, was meant to free everyone from suffering. As long as Ben is willing, she can erase the painful memories of losing his mother. Under Macha's honeyed words, Ben slowly begins to lose himself. Just as his emotions are about to be taken away, Toby's barking echoes from upstairs. The sound jolts Ben awake. Seeing that Ben refuses to submit, Macha instantly becomes furious. She immediately reaches for a bottle and drains away her own anger. Seizing the moment, Ben rushes into the attic. There, he finally finds Saoirse, but half of her body has already turned to stone, and she is terribly weak. At Macha's command, the owls begin pecking at the glass. Ben tries to smash the bottles, hoping to restore Macha's emotions, but the bottles are protected by magic, and brute force cannot break them. Suddenly, Ben remembers that Saoirse once shattered the bottles with the sound of the shell, but no matter how hard he blows, the shell makes no sound. Only a selkie like Saoirse can awaken its magic. And now, she no longer has the strength. Ben looks at his sister with aching regret. He apologizes for how he treated Saoirse before. He says he should have kept his promise to be a proper, dependable older brother. Ben softly sings the song their mother once taught him. Hearing the melody, Saoirse gathers her last bit of strength and blows the shell. As the clear sound rings out, the glass bottles shatter across the floor. The emotions sealed within them rush back into Macha's body. Saoirse's legs turn back from stone to flesh. She collapses weakly onto the ground. With her emotions fully restored, Macha becomes the gentle grandmother she once was. She had been lost for far too long. All she ever wanted was to save her son from unbearable grief. She never imagined things would turn out this way. Looking at the barely breathing Saoirse, Macha is filled with remorse. Now, Saoirse must put on her selkie coat and sing as soon as possible. Only then can she be saved. Macha uses her magic to send them back home. Ben immediately runs to his father to ask for the selkie coat, but Connor insists on taking Saoirse to the town hospital. Panicking, Ben presses him about the coat's whereabouts. At last, Connor tells him that he threw the selkie coat into the sea long ago. In truth, Connor has always known that his daughter is a selkie. He simply didn't want Saoirse to follow the same fate as her mother. Looking at his dying sister, Ben makes up his mind. He will find the selkie coat no matter what. He leaps into the sea. At that moment, a group of seals surrounds him. With their help, Ben quickly finds the chest. Just then, one seal swims up, holding a key in its mouth. Ben takes the key and opens the chest. The moment he lifts the selkie coat, he loses consciousness. Back on the boat, Connor pulls both children tightly into his arms. Toby carries the coat over and covers Saoirse with it. Soon, Saoirse begins to recover. She opens her mouth and calls out her brother's name. At that instant, the boat capsizes. But once Saoirse falls into the sea, she instantly regains her vitality. She transforms into a white seal and leads them joyfully across the waves. In the end, they arrive before the stone statue of the giant MacLear. Yet once back on land, Saoirse grows weak again. Only by singing can she fully heal. Ben once more sings the song their mother taught him. Guided by the melody, Saoirse finally begins to sing. Her song turns into warm light, drifting far away. Wherever it passes, all the fairies turn to stone or set free. Macha, longing for her son, transforms into a fairy as well, and flies toward the island with everyone else. The giant MacLear awakens at last in the song. Macha and her son, along with all the fairies, return to the world where they belong. Saoirse is completely restored. Just then, a white seal appears before them. It is their mother Brana. Brana wants to take her daughter back to the world of the selkies. Ben runs forward in panic, begging her not to take Saoirse away. Brana doesn't want to leave either, but as a selkie, returning to the sea is her destiny. She tells Saoirse that she carries half-human blood. As long as she removes the selkie coat, she can stay. In the end, Brana respects her daughter's choice. Saoirse removes the selkie coat and returns to her original form. Brana steps forward to say her final goodbye. Ben begs his mother to stay, but as a selkie, she must leave. It is said that this story was once created long ago to comfort children. In times when medical care was poor, many women lost their lives in childbirth. Fathers would tell their children that their mother had become a selkie, swimming into the depths of the sea, never to return. All the sorrow that could not be spoken was hidden within the waves and the songs. Perhaps one day, when the children grow up, they will understand the truth behind this gentle lie. But the warmth that was so carefully protected will remain in their hearts forever.